Welcome to the Talent Empowerment Podcast, where we share the stories of great leaders so you can lift up your organizations, your teams, and certainly your community. I am your host, Tom Finn, and on the show today, we have a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur, he's an author, he's an advisor, and dare I say, he's a damn fine gentleman. His name is Dr. Glenn Toby. Dr. Toby, welcome to the show, my friend.
So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, if you don't know Dr. Toby, let me introduce you to him. You're going to get to know him really well today. Dr. Glenn Toby is the founder and CEO of Toby Enterprises. Now, that is a leading international holding corporation that controls companies in the world of real estate, asset management, technology. He has a multi-tiered entertainment background, has an athlete management company. Now, he's been doing this for 30 years. It started in 80s in the music industry as a pioneer, a leader in entertainment and sports management world. He has represented, managed, and advised our friends like Ladies Love Cool James. For those of you that don't know, that's LL Cool J. Olympian Samir Lane, Lance Reddick, Asante Samuel, Antonio Freeman, Josh Evans, even world championship boxer O'Neal Supernova Bell, actor Jason Weaver, all sorts of other big names. But let me be clear. His heart leans in as a steadfast philanthropist. Dr. Toby is the founder of the Book Bank Foundation, a literary organization. He's a board member of the Peter Tosh Foundation. I am so thrilled to have you on the show. We have so much to discuss. What an impressive background and empire. Tell us, where did it all begin?
Thank you. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, experienced youth homelessness from the age of 8 to about the 7th grade. Amazing family. My grandmother, my mother pretty much raised me, and my brother Randall by my side. And it was a playground to work hard, right? So didn't lose my imagination or my passion for life as a child. You know, I came out untouched, but with many different type of experiences that I would learn from. You know, Randall and I were in the library a lot. We'd go to the museum a lot when my mother was working. Her leadership was amazing. She lost her job, mental illness, because of us being homeless for so long. Dementia sets in. She refused to compromise herself, and that's how we ended up becoming homeless. And from that journey, with relatives and support systems, the government, and people who were passionate and had a heart, for people that are in the struggle or trying to move forward, we were able to end up in Queens. I went to junior high school 109 and then on to Benjamin Cardozo High School and got in the music business and applied myself as a young entrepreneur in that hip hop world. And it was a pathway to greater things.
So I know everybody's going to ask this question. And if I was listening, I'd want to know. So you start out, you're in the music business. What's your first interaction with one of my all-time favorites, LL Cool J?
Funny enough, my name was MC Sweetie G or Mr. Sweetie G. I was one of the first rappers, one of the pioneers in Queens, and LL Cool J, Run DMC, Positive K. These guys were younger than me, so they used to sneak into my shows or somehow get in, and they knew me as a rapper, as one of the pioneers. Time Takes It, Brian Latour, and Charles Fisher, who were my friends growing up in the neighborhood, they were managing Cool J. I joined the team, and I had the honor of being on LL Cool J's management team, doing things for him, discovering talent, as I would initially do for many more years to come. You know, Positive K, David Banner, several different rappers, and R&B as well. So it was a nice pathway.
So did you prefer to be on stage or you like to be on the side of the stage? Which one fits your personality better?
I like them both. You know, after a while, when the new young guns come in the game and talent changes and emerges, if you don't have the passion and the energy and you're not able to endure what it takes, it's not a good place to be. I think I had a disdain for business because I saw it as like the opposing will that is coming to take every artist's royalties and to be restrictive. And I said, let me study the game, because I was an avid reader. My brother and I were very avaricious. We were kind of forward thinkers. And I wasn't willing to give up my music publishing. I was offered a deal from Sugar Hill Records and some of the independent labels that were taking advantage of artists, and I didn't want to be taken advantage of. I pushed back. I pushed the bully back, and I started emerging in business, and it developed into from entertainment and sports to real estate, technology, and other things. But I'm always an artist at heart.
Well, I
So I'd
think
like to say in my heart I love the creative, but I'm boots on the ground with the business.
well, I love the way he said that. And for those listening out there, what you heard him say is, I took to the books and I started to learn what the game was, and I tried to figure out how to make it better and how to improve. And that's what all talent empowerment is about, right? It's empowering yourself first to empower others, to support those in the community. So do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like the path has been the right journey for you personally?
Yeah, I feel it gave me so many different tools. Youth homelessness gave me the ability to speak to poverty and hopefully get people through poverty. I think the entertainment space gave me access to ungodly amounts of wealth, people with extreme personalities that are bizarre to people who are the pillar of truth and honesty. Like defining those pieces were parts of my toolbox to be able to serve others. I feel like I'm able to speak to people through the Book Bank Foundation, our charity, because I've worn these many hats and had these many different experiences, and I can recognize and identify where my strong suit is, and I can understand where I might not have enough resources or experience to be able to serve. That's why we build an amazing team who can answer every call, hear every voice, and have light for their sight or have vision for what's not there.
Yeah, beautifully said. And you brought it up, so let's dive right in. Book Bank Foundation, help us understand the cause, the background, how you got into that.
Yeah, so I sat back after my career in sports and I looked back at how much money I had made, people that I met, the traveling, the exposure, connectivity, and being rewarded with not just monetary success, but societal, right? People embracing you that you would never imagine would embrace you, and being on teams with people smarter and stronger than me, and then being accepting and me learning how to work within a team. So I said it was books. Education was so strong, such a strong part of my personal development, and was one of my greatest tools. I said to myself, well, books, you've got the books are the source learning, and you got the spiritual bank, the emotional bank, a financial bank, a memory bank. You have the bank where the water is, and so the bank is so important. You put the book with the bank, the education with the money and the wisdom. These tools come together. It changes commerce, it changes community, and it changes the calling of mankind. If the bank is dealt with humility, austerity, intelligence, numbers that don't lie can tell the truth to people that don't have access to the money. So us creatives in the entertainment space, sports space, even people who have a creative heart, who are open to creation and innovation, can take money and power and solutions to change the world. You bridge those two together in the name of charity or in the name of altruism. Money, commerce, and people that are driving the world can have compassion for the lost, the lonely, and the forgotten. They can live together.
Well, I love the way you said that, combining all of these different areas in our heart and our soul and the way that we think and the way that we enter our communities and our lives, I think is so critically important. And when we think about that, it's a wonderful backdrop to understand who you are as a person, as a man. How did you really decide to move forward with the Book Bank Foundation? And what was the impetus to start it? I know you're very centered and you're very thoughtful, but what did you want to accomplish with this?
So it was a prophecy. So I was doing really well with Alonzo Shavers. We had a firm, Infinite Sports Technologies. We represented hundreds of athletes in our career. And I said, the best way to heal oneself is to kind of go back to where you were, make an assessment, see where you made a mistake. What are my weak points? What are my strong points? Am I healed? And I went right back into the throes of homelessness. So I went to the Bowery Mission and met one of my mentors, Mr. James Macklin, who was running the Bowery Mission in New York City. It's the oldest adult men's shelter in the country. Early as a child, my mother, and I went to those front doors. They couldn't accept us because it was a mother and children. Somehow I come back, I start giving away shoes, clothing, talking to people in the NFL, talking to my friends or in the music industry, and bringing resources to the shelter. Continued to grow to something where I did something called Shelter from the Streets. We took 3 buses and we would drive around the city, Mercedes buses with celebrities and people that were advocates, ministers, police officers, criminals, drug dealers who had a passion for life, but said, hey, I want to give back. I'm trying to change my life. And we would go right to the projects. We'd go right to the homeless shelters. We'd go right to parks. And we'd go in the tunnels and on the street and deliver brand new clothing, food, blankets, toys to them. And we just kept doing it. It became infectious. It grew. It developed its own following. And it was a way for people who wanted to touch, to be healed, and to heal the lost, the lonely, and the forgotten. That was called Shelter from the Streets. Continue to emerge in this community offering that we have. We ask each person to come with a heart to help, with a mind to help, to heal and be helped. Openness,
Yeah.
openness to changing the problem.
Well, I mean, beautifully said. And for those of you listening, I mean, you can just hear the passion in Glenn's voice, and you can hear that he loves and supports his community at a very, very deep level. The question I have is it hard to balance all of this? Because we're all busy. We all got these phones that go off all the time. You're connected to so many different people in different industries that are high-powered individuals. How do you find the time to do your philanthropic work as well as stay connected to everybody?
Well, it's having a great team. A lot of times you can see a prize fighter or you'll see an artist and people think that they're not really part of a team. You see Serena, she's having a great time. There is a team. Much of the team is generally invisible on the outside, but a successful person who's leading their campaign or who's victorious, that team is always visible behind the scenes. So there's a collective of the most amazing human beings that I've met over decades who are bringing resources, power, presence, and purpose to what I do. More specifically, David Branch, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Bookbank Foundation. He's also an entrepreneur. He's run many of my companies as well as his own. And there's a team of people who have been in prayer or who have been in private, whether it's funding or offering ideas. This is why I've had this success. I'm just standing in the shadows of greater people.
Well, I love the way you said that. And every great leader has a great team behind them. And sounds like you are no different. But what makes you different as a leader that people want to follow you? That's really important, that folks want to work with you. They get behind you. They believe in you. How do you pull that off?
I think it's showing up and being present. I think vulnerability is truth. Vulnerability can be evidence. Something needs to be fixed or something was fixed or in the process of it. So I think my openness to continue to be in the community, my openness to share and be willing to, take criticisms and how we can redefine and improve things is what has allowed us to have the success that we've had. So it's my willingness, my openness to learn. I'm showing up every day, no filters, no curtains, nothing up my sleeve, just willing to work, and we're working hard.
Yeah, I love that. It really comes down to authenticity is what I heard. Be authentic, be yourself, be true, be good to people along the way, and good things will happen. That's really what empowering others is all about. And it sounds like that's in your heart and your soul as well. But
yeah.
It didn't always go this way, right? I mean, have you stubbed your toe along the way, or has it all been, rainbows and butterflies?
It's been tough. I mean, you have to be resilient. And you have to recognize error. I think self-assessment is the key to winning. I think someone that's victorious or a champion is someone that's sustained losses or knows how to lose without disrupting everyone else in the process. So if you're a crazy guy, if you're a chef in the kitchen and you're going nuts and you're ranting and people can't work with you, if you're a great quarterback and you think you're doing it all on your own, that pulling guard can drop off, and when you're on your back, you realize that it is a team effort. So I think vulnerability, transparency, and patience is how it is. People have to be patient in your learning, right? And your ability to learn and to develop and to scale. And we have to be patient with the people that we're developing and that we're leading. And we have to make sacrifice. I mean, if you're really trying to change the game, or if you're really trying to bring something to the table, if you're not just a taker.
What do you do when you run into those takers? Can you recognize them pretty quickly at this point?
I recognize them. I look at it as a form of attrition. There's always going to be some loss, just like in a good business. You factor in losses. You factor in, if you have a retail store, there's going to be profit loss. There's going to be pilferage and theft. So you have to factor that into your constitution as a person, that there's always going to be that one person that's going to disrupt everything you're doing, that's in denial, or puts you on trial when you are completely innocent and when you are completely on your purpose. So you have to factor it in. And that is a litmus test or a measure of success. How much can you take? How strong can you go? You need to change the tires. The tires get changed. That pit stop is right there and it moves really fast. But guess what? The pit stop is almost moving as fast in relationship to the car that's racing, in relationship to the intuitiveness of the driver. Everything's moving at speed, but there's a calculation and there is a resonance that goes with the intuitiveness of the person, what we've learned, what we haven't learned. So it's all a process. When that machine's running right, you win the races. When it isn't, you lose.
Well said. And so how do we win more than we lose? I mean, is it the right team? It's the right mindset. It's the right heart. Are these the things that we should be thinking about as we try to head down the right path?
That's one of the best questions I've heard. So we never really win. We never really win. What we do is we overcome these obstacles. If you are the only person that's winning, if you're walking away in your business, if you're walking away in your mission, and you have more than everyone else and everybody else isn't winning, it's not a true win. A victory is sustained. These are victories when everyone has benefited. Even the losers. They talk about, hey, I was in that great game. I lost to this great champion. So we have to think about sportsmanship, and we have to think about collective mindset and community, or you just have a bunch of people who are competing against each other with no common respect. There's no character. There's no stewardship. There's no benefit to even the person that's watching. And those are the trends that can change the world. That's why we have disparity. This is why we have wars. That's why we have disconnect. Everybody's trying to win in the spirit of oneness and not in the spirit of team. Victory means there is something that has been achieved. Championship is merited for the moment, which means losses have to be factored in. We have to accept losing. We have to effectively make change and know that no one's truly a loser. They just didn't win.
So this is really complex for people because what you're saying is you don't win as an individual, you win as a group. Victory is served to a group of people. However, when I go on social media, I don't see a group of people. I see a face as an individual being promoted. Now, whether that person is promoting themselves or promoting their business or what have you, it's usually one. It's not that team that gets the love and the support and maybe the praise. So how do we compartmentalize this? I've got to win as a team, but I've got to lead as an individual.
Tom, that's one of the best questions of the year. So the reality is somebody in the background is getting everything they want or need, or they're going to be gone. We're living in a microwave society. So when you see this one person, it's going to resonate that there's a great team around them. It's going to resonate that there's something else going on. They're going to bring resources and solutions. They're going to bring products. They're going to bring experiences, events, and it's everybody but you doing it. Whether it's the guy that has the lights, whether it's the wardrobe guy, security, whether it's the person that's writing the film or the book, or who's ever doing analytics or doing the accounting, everything's really a team. So we're looking at personal issues when we see this excellence in this one person, that we're not wondering, who's his lawyer? Who's his accountant? Who's his therapist? Where does this person live? How do they diet? You know what I mean? Like, is it all gravitas? Is it all a complete take? Because if it's a complete take, at some point it gets tired. The world's getting tired. People are asking for a healing. Things are being revealed, and people are a lot smarter and faster than they've ever been.
That's 100% right. And I wonder, as you're thinking about the world, the collective meaning, how to support people, how to lead the right way, do you have a message for that 20-ish-year-old young man, young lady that's sitting there saying, how do I find my place in all of this noise?
Well, I think it's show up for who you are and who you are not. If you discover that something's missing, seek to find it. If you think you have more than you do, whether it's skills, whether it's experience, whether it's mission, evaluate it and see if you need to work in that space. And to the youngest people that are listening to us right now, Tom, I would say to them, bring more than you take to every experience in your life. When I walk into a room, somebody knows I was there. Whether they want me to leave the room, whether they want me to come back, they're going to know why I'm there. And there's going to be a measure. Make every breath count. Bring more than you take. Be willing to work for less, because less is always more if you have everything that somebody else needs.
Yeah, well said. Great sage advice. So when you think about walking into a room, who do you want to hang out with? If you could pick a couple of people right now, have a private conversation, maybe sip on something cold together, get to know a couple of people, who's not in your sphere of influence that you would love to just have a chat with?
If I could have a chat, I'd talk to communist leaders and tell them to relax and listen to what I have to say. To tell them that it takes a bridge to get over the water. It takes a tunnel to get through the water. So the disconnect, like we have Fox News, we got CNN, we have this, we have that. Just everybody sit in the middle in peace and relax. And guess what? We're going to eat the food that you want to eat. We're going to listen to your stories. We're going to listen to why you say everything is great. And I might be the anomaly, or the people that are around me, or the system that I'd like you to look at with an open heart, open mind, with no takeaways, so we can make things better. You'll enjoy your world a lot better if I can enjoy mine, because we are connected more than we're not. That's what people don't get. If we were to take all the water in the world, and somebody took all the food in the world, and someone had all the peace, and someone had disruption, where would we be? We'd be disconnected. And could we be crazy enough to not think in this time that we don't need one another collectively on a human level? It looks like it every day. We're painting over the black and the white and the gray. Not the black and the white as it is, black or white. Not the gray where it's undefined, but the colors of the world. The purpose of the world is getting colored over.
And your feeling is, if you were to sit down with everybody and explain this, maybe we could take a couple of steps forward.
Or you know what? Or we'd learn a little bit. We might discover some of the flaws within ourselves. Like, we're always looking to take something away, right? Maybe I go to the meeting and I say, wow, Glenn, you need to work on these things. This is not making sense. I mean, if you put world leaders together in a collective space and everybody's putting up, the falsities, like, we're the richest, we're the strongest, my people are happy. And somebody's sitting in the audience, their face might be like this and saying, oh, the food isn't so great here, or the freedom isn't so great here, or there's too much freedom here. It's collective consciousness. We are all consciously linked, right? The disparities are because when the consciousness doesn't meet. The resolve of humanity, the grace, being able to have patience for other people, that calls for collective consciousness. There's not enough consciousness in the constitution of people and in our resolute spirit.
Do you feel like that comes down to having an open mind? Because for me, when I meet people, I tend to find that you got one of two directions we're going. You're either closed-minded, you've got that wall up, I can't get through to you, no matter what I say, it's not going to fly. And then I meet others that say, let's have a conversation, let's learn from each other, let's sit down and break bread, let's spend some time together understanding where we came from and who we are. That's the way I see the world. Am I looking at this wrong?
You're looking at it right. And I think that's where we are. I mean, I think if we sat down, and I'm not a political guy, but with North Korea, and we talked about agriculture and we talked about food deserts, that's a conversation you couldn't have in the public. If there was a safe space to talk about it, we talked about irrigation, we talked about how we're growing food and vegetables and water, and even cannabis is grown inside. Are there some formulas that resolutely speak to humanity? I mean, if there's a deficit in reality and causality, it will drive somebody to hear it, even if it's in the echoes of their consciousness. If there's no consciousness, if someone says that what you're talking about doesn't exist, then nothing can change. So I don't have to say it to you. I can just show you that mine is working really well, and I have an efficacy or purpose, or I have results that you pray for. I'll silently have that available for you. I might ask you in return for that, just for the sake of peace or respect or decency. I might say to you to give me X amount of dollars. I might ask you to give me a technology process that you have, a learning process that you have. So my whole thesis has been lately, and my theorem is, collective consciousness is the only way to save the universe. It's the only way to be more effective. If you're a business person, you business leaders, you government leaders, you community leaders, if you're not speaking to the core of your supporters, if you're not speaking to the core of your purpose, you're not going to move at the scale you want. There's no such thing as 10x. It's overinflated, and it's going to come back like a company that's not really running effectively as well.
Okay. So if I'm listening to this, I'm going, man, this is deep. I'm trying to follow it. I'm trying to keep up, right? Help us go through collective consciousness. Let's really break down what that looks like for people and how we can exhibit those behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Collective consciousness is knowing that you're driving this business and you're pushing your staff or you're pushing your employees at a breakpoint level so that you're able to make the money that you need to make. But, some people quit. There's a new thing they talk about in business. People show up a little bit late. They respond to you late. They do just what they need to do. They come back a second before lunch instead of coming back. So you have to be conscious that everybody's not happy in this business. You have to be conscious that this vendor that you're working with or who's ever holding the invoice is not paying it ahead of time or on time. Consciousness is so important. So if you become conscious in your work, you may become more conscious in your personal and your private. If the private and the personal are fine and the business is fine, you're going to have a happier person that is more readily available to listen to change or make a personal change, which affects the world. Because again, we're back to we are consciously connected or unconsciously connected. If it's just a matter of resolute issues where the only connectivity we have is war or competition or money or beating each other, then what is that? There's no continuity in that. In order to get the change, it's got to be embraced by everybody to some degree.
Yeah, I love the way you said that. Unconscious or conscious, my friends, we are connected. So if you're not paying attention and you don't think we're connected, you're probably on the unconscious side. If you're conscious, but you're not quite there yet, how do we sort of open up those bright minds? Where do we send them, Glenn? Do we send them to a website? Do we send them to reading material? Do we ask them to think about some questions?
I would send many of them to thebookbankinstitute.com, which is an amazing program. Dan Vega and myself, we got together. We have the Book Bank Institute powered by Blue University. It is an openness for people that are world leaders who want business lessons and are doing redaptive thinking to people that don't know where they want to go. They want to get an extra education. This education is one that's well-rounded. It's personal development, it's business, it's enhancements on skills that you have and don't. Secondly, get involved with a charity, have a cause, have something bigger than yourself. I'd say Book Bank Institute and, of course, the Book Bank Foundation, which is a not-for-profit. We've been around 26 years. That's thebbf.org. Let's talk about raising consciousness within. It doesn't mean you have to be hands-on. Currently, what we're doing, we're serving about 2,000 people a week, 600 families. We're going on 3 tons of food for 2.5 years. We're getting it by community organizing. We don't have an office. We don't have a car or salaries. It's just everybody coming in. We've been going for 26 years, and we are bringing education and solutions for people in food, education, mental health, awareness, humanity. It starts there first.
And that's very well said. I want to know what your favorite part of being involved in this is. What is your favorite human part, your favorite memory, your favorite person that you get to lock arms with and work together? Help us understand that richness of the organization.
Wow. The richness is foremost immediately are the mothers and the children that we impact. We've had the grace of delivering kids who are compromised economically their first toy, their first book really put in their hand, newborns to children that are 1 to 5 and preschool age, to older people who have given us a message at the age of 70 or 80 that are homeless, that are in social straits or economic straits, that give us a good word, a good word for the globe, for God, for essence of humanity. Hey, thank you for coming today. Do you know this? And people talking. We've watched people transformed who are in different cultures or communities that believe that, the help out or handout is for the weak. They've been lied to, and they've been tied to the premise that when you're helping somebody else, you're keeping them weak. But, it hits them oftentimes when it's their mother, when it's their child. It could be drug abuse. It could be an elderly person that doesn't have the proper medical program. They don't have health coverage. And it kind of softens the heart when they see that if somebody's not responding and there's not, again, collective consciousness in clearing out these issues, coming up with modalities and solutions, everybody's affected some way. We are all 1 to 3 mortgage or rent payments from homelessness.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. We're all close to the line. Americans across the globe, we run close to our financial line. It's proven in the economic results around the world. And you're right, we're not that far away from stepping over that line. Most of us, which is a wonderful point. Yeah, I love the way you said that.
It's true. I mean, 40% New Yorkers in New York State or New York City, more so, the 5 boroughs, 40% of their net income goes to housing. So if you look at Asia and some of the other countries, their savings rates are so high. It is amazing. Americans can barely save $400 per paycheck on an average. 70% of Americans are upside down with consumer debt or lack of access, or they don't have time because it compromises the core family. It compromises all of the nuclear family needs. This is why there's such a disparity in family, because the economic calling for just sustenance and basics is eroding. I mean, when I say this like this, it sounds like I'm running for office, but these are just metrics and facts that people need to think about.
Well, it's a great point. When are you running for office?
I'm running out of this office, Tom, when I'm done. About it.
Well, I look, you've got the right heart. You've got the right motivation. You've built this on your own with wonderful teammates along the way that you've supported, and you're giving back in your community. These are the type of folks that should be running for office, that are wonderful negotiators and bring people to the table to find peace, harmony, compromise across our local communities and across the world. So, you got my vote whenever you decide to run. And I imagine you'd have millions of other votes standing there waiting in line to support you as well. We've crushed a lot today. We have talked about so much. And I said at the top of the show that today we had a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, an author, an advisor, and an absolute gentleman on the show. And you have not disappointed, sir. I am so grateful for having you on the show. But I've got to ask this final question. People are going to listen to this. They're going to want to get a hold of you. They're going to need more of Dr. Glenn Toby. I can tell you that. How do they find you?
My website is Dr. Glenn Toby. That's 2 N's, DrGlennToby.com. My Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Facebook are all just my name. Glenn Toby, GLENNTOBY. The Book Bank Foundation is just that, thebookbankfoundation.org or the BBF.org. And 516-345-0284 is the office. Feel free to call.
Oh, I love that. Now there's no excuses. You can get a hold of him. You can find him. It looks and feels like you have everything buttoned up. Is there anything missing in your life?
Yeah, what's missing is more collaboration. What's missing is more partnership. What's missing is identifying pathways to bring more of us together. I mean, let's say this. Tom, you talk about this a lot. You don't give yourself enough credit for it, but I want to just speak, and this is why I'm on this podcast. You talk about talent empowerment. I just wanted to say, before I talk about what's missing, is what's hitting. What's hitting is talent empowerment. Finding that person that you hire, that you resonate with, that you know is going to leave you one day. Hopefully they leave you to become a CEO or are more successful in business, and you do partnerships with them, or you become a part of their success. Talent empowerment. People who have more wisdom than you or talent in some areas that you get out of your own way to let them get in. So I just wanted to speak to that. That's why I'm on this podcast today, Tom. Your theory, your thesis, you lighting on that has been one of the most important parts of my ingredient of success, such as the David Branches, the Alec Bushes, just all the other professionals in my life, my attorneys, doctors, lawyers, all the people that are on my team to make it drive. It's their talent. And it's me being able to implore and to support their ability for me to not empower them, but to them to remain being empowered.
Yeah, well said. That is the thesis that I am ringing the bell on day in and day out. We've got to lift up other people, support them. And you mentioned something that we don't really talk about. You do it knowing that they will leave. That's an important moment in time that you really understand that when they leave, it was always going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you did it right and you built them up and you supported them along the way, they should.
Yeah. You become a part of their narrative. Like, there's certain successes that I've had in music, film, sports, entertainment, and just business in general. The person can't tell their own story without telling me as a part of it, or they'll stop and ask about it. So it's kind of leading from behind. I always say, be the smallest component, be the seed, not the tree.
Yeah, well said. Be the seed, not the tree. Is there anything else missing in your garden?
Well, everything's missing. Everything that I've done right, I want to do better. Everything that I missed and didn't do right, I'm praying to do better. So just showing up for life every day, connecting with great people like you, and, looking forward to the next episode.
Well, we are looking forward to hearing your story in the next couple of years unfold at greater depth with greater meaning. And we hope that everybody has consciousness around it. I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for being on the show. Love what you're doing. Love the energy you bring every day and the team environment that you're creating for your local team and for communities around the world. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on the show with us.
Thank you. I'm a supporter. I'm always tuned in, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. And thank you for joining the Talent Empowerment Podcast. I hope this conversation lifted you up so you can lift up your teams, your organizations, find that consciousness. My friends, let's get back to people and culture together. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.